Good morning, birdies. It is now 8. I say now 8:58 because I just tried to, oddly enough, just tape one of these 10 minutes ago, and I'm doing it without music, as I started to say in the last take of this Good Morning Birdies video, because I figured this was going to be very, very quick, and I didn't want to have to deal with like syncing it with music. But then all of a sudden I rambled, so maybe having the music keeps me like honest time wise. But I'm going to make a greater effort today. So and I'm going to talk about a friend of mine whose name is there was a girl. I used to work at Time magazine. There were a lot of girls when I used to work at Time magazine, and I was kind of known as not so much of a womanizer as just a man who was a fan of the ladies, a philogynist, if you will, a real word, by the way. On T-shirts available on my website, by the way, too. But she was an intern, and I had just sort of enjoyed / suffered the gossip of being associated with another girl who was an intern, but was not the 24 years old as I thought she was. She was only 19 at the time. She was a temp replacing someone who was closer to my age, and I invited her out. Well, we'll get to that later. But so I was like, the girl was 19, I was 37. Okay, but the history of my life, since as I've said before, I am allergic to girlfriends almost. It's like I only pursue and hang out with girls that I have absolutely no future with. So girls who are way too young for me, obviously, or girls who are transient and are only here, temporarily, and then they go back home. There's no threat of anything long term or anything really, really serious. Because someone who asked me if I had my heart broken. Trina yesterday asked me if I ever had my heart broken. And I'm like, well, considering the fact that I haven't had a girlfriend in 20 years, maybe I haven't fully recovered from the heartbreak of not one but two girls who I thought I was going to marry and then wound up not marrying. So, and I also through a lot of my arrogance and cockiness, and it's kind of like there's a part of me that loves the thrill of the chase, and like once I get the bone, I'm no longer interested. Once I get the bone, no. Once I get what I'm going after, and once I have it, then I'm kind of like, all right, what's next? I want to chase something else now. Give me another stick to chase down. And I had that attitude with the two girls who I did date. And so since then, I've kind of been, relationship free, commitment phobic, if you will, and pursued for 20 years girls who were too young for me. And there's one girl who was 19. I thought, okay, I won't bother going there again. And then there was an intern named Allison Canton who showed up and sat right outside my office, all cute, and it was funny because when her boss introduced her to me, it was just kind of just like, there was probably like an office pool. It's like, how long before Kerry, winds up at lunch with her in the cafeteria. And that didn't happen. Although we wound up becoming friends. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just be nice to her in the office because there's no chance of me hanging out with her outside the office. Especially since she's, she lied to me about her age too. I think she was like, I don't know, 17 and told me she was 18, or she was 16 and told me she was 17. And at that point too, why lie about your age if none of those numbers are actually copacetic, really? Looking over my shoulder for Chris Hansen from Dateline. So and somehow, I don't know how, but then we started hanging out, outside of the office, off campus, as my other friend used to call it, much to my chagrin. And but we were actually very, very good friends. And she's a great girl. I love talking to her, and she's smart and safe because she was too young. But I told her, I said, you're officially now, the youngest friend I'm going to have. You're officially the friend, especially female. There's never going to be anyone more younger than I am than you. And since then, I've actually met other younger girls. She's now, Allison is now 24, 25, I guess, something like that. And 24, whatever. But I've met girls, especially bartending, who are 21, 22, 23 years old. But they're not they're not friends like my friend Allie is. She's actually, she's been over there. She comes over for dinner, and she she's just dynamite. And the very very cute thing about her is that she lived in Jersey, and then she moved to the city. And I used to tell her like, oh, you got to move to the city. And I grew up in the city, and I was a native New Yorker, and she moved, and she called me. She's like, I bet you I know a place in the city that you've never heard of. And I said, okay, try me. She's like, yeah, so now I'm living on either, she said, Tiemann Plaza or LaSalle and like Claremont. And I was like, no, sorry, baby girl, but that's a one block area that's directly across the street from the projects that I grew up in. So that's a neighborhood I probably know the best out of all of Manhattan. And she was very impressed with it, very, very surprised. So that was kind of cute. And now she's at Harvard Law School, and my 19-year-old's at Harvard Business School. So obviously I know how to pick them. I told you, can't just have this, you gotta have this. Right? If you're beautiful, I'll call you once. If you're smart, I'll call you all the time. So, but back to Allison Canton, I'm discussing her today because today is her birthday. And I should actually check, because you're young enough to still post a year of your birthday. So I can do this quick math. It's 24 today. I've known her for 6 years. 24, so cute. You're so pretty. She's got a boyfriend now. She's very, very happy. All my female friends, even if they're just friends, there's always a little bit of jealousy. Because I like to be the most important guy in a girl's life, or whatever. And many of you actually know that. But here's another, here's a little quinky Nicky also. So where I grew up is officially Morningside Heights. I told her that the McDonald's that's right there, 125th and Broadway, when it first opened up in 1980, I was one of the first crew members to work there. And I say that like I'm actually proud. Which I am, because it gave me like a good work ethic. It was my first job in the city at that Mickey D's on 125th and Broadway. Before they even had a 9 train, it was just a 1 and a 2 and a 3 before they had the 9. How about that, going way back? So, but here's the odd part, is that talking about Morningside Heights, another friend of mine who I met when she was 14 at Studio when I was 17, so it wasn't that bad, who also lived in Morningside Heights. Her name was Melissa Chalsma. And through her, I met a whole group of other girls, especially the Yeager sisters, Karen Yeager and Brenda Yeager, and yes, that's their real name. And I remember actually flipping a coin, trying to decide whether I was going to date Brenda Yeager. I really did flip a coin, and maybe Brenda doesn't want to hear that, but I did flip a coin. It was either Brenda or Kathy White, and I flipped a coin, and it wound up being Kathy White. And that, if it wasn't for that coin toss, it's very possible I would have never wound up at Dorian's, just 6 degrees, whatever. But back to Melissa, because Melissa also wound up becoming a very, very good friend of mine, and we hung out for a long time, and she's a girl that I kind of liked also, but never let myself kind of... I shouldn't really bring up these stories 25 years after the fact, because she's now married and lives on the West Coast and has a beautiful kid, so... let's just keep it simple, and we're already at 8 minutes, so I want to give a birthday shout out to the only 2 other people who I know who know anything about Morningside Heights, and who've lived in Morningside Heights, Ali Canton and Melissa Chalsma, and I love both of you very, very much, and you both are very, very large, huge, important parts of my life, regardless of how often I need to speak to me, so don't forget that. And there's a 3rd birthday shout out to Zoe Feldman, who was just funny because she's one of Allison's best friends, and and they actually get to share a birthday together. So that's kind of cool to have a best friend to have the same birthday as you. So all 3 of you beautiful, fun, smart, clever ladies, stay happy. I hope you enjoy the day. Lisa, I'm sorry for not making it out to karaoke. I'm asleep by 10 o'clock, and now I'm going to make a rule. I will no longer make promises at all to being anywhere, especially on a Friday or Saturday night past 9 o'clock. It's not going to happen. And that's it. So until tomorrow, ciao for now. Love you.